So hello everyone. Um, I'm gonna talk about what WTM is. So as you all know, it's a non-profit organization. So our main aim is to increase the technological aspects in Kuwait. So we are supported by Google. Um, However, we're not under Google, so Google is offering us resources and courses. Um, we have hosted over 10 events, and we've hosted over 10 events in Kuwait, but all over the world, around 50 chapters have already presented about the events. And we're looking for volunteers. So if anyone wants to volunteer in WTM, please give us your emails before you leave. I'll leave you with Dr. With engineer.
Hello everyone, good morning. We are from the Hussein Mohammed. This is my contact information. Currently I'm working as an associate consultant, landmark consultant. Previously I worked in Kuwait University for like 2 years as a teaching assistant. One of my achievements, I created the Kuwait Meteorology application. كتاب مصادر جميع application App Store. الايفون هذا اشتغلت عليه. ان شاء الله engineer by محمد المير will be joining me soon. Just have an urgent matter to resolve and come later. Okay. So today we'll talk about Google Assistant and how to create actions in Google Assistant. You know what Google Assistant is? Anyone used it before? It's the application you use when you say, OK, Google, and walks with you, like Siri on the iPhone. By the way, Google Assistant is also available on the iPhone. You can go to the App Store and search for Google Assistant and you can download it from there. Okay. So things you will create today will be on many platforms and many devices. You know Google Home. A device that looks like this. Okay, like a cylinder or maybe smaller. Okay, that's also using Google Assistant. Okay. So, starting creating your action. If you want your project to be recognized, when we create a project later on at 12 o'clock, it's better that you use this code, BAFYC. We will get to that again when we reach the coding session. Okay, so don't worry about this part. Any links that you see over here, you don't have to copy them letter by letter. I gather them all in one link, http://tiny.cc/gdg. So we will be seeing a lot of links in the slides. Unfortunately, I can't share the slides with you as they are confidential, but I took permission from WTM and gathered all or extracted out all the links. You can see there are about 35 links in the slide. So don't bother copying them, just access this link and you will find this PDF covering all the links you will see in the slides. Okay. Again, we will get to that when we reach that coding session. So code of conduct. Today you will probably work in groups together. Okay, maybe you will meet new coders or new designers. So we expect to be excellent to each other, practice saying yes to each other, respect each other. Okay. If you have any issues, you can reach to me or reach one of the organizers you saw. Okay. If you don't know anyone here and you would like to work in a group, you can approach me and tell me, well, I don't have any group and I would like to work with another. Or if you love to work by yourself, it's up to you. Okay, but I can hook you up with someone to work with. Okay. By the end, I expect you to work together, create your own actions. Okay, and if you are willing, you can present your own action to us. We will give you like an hour. Okay, for everyone, like 2 to 3 minutes for each group to present what actions they have created. Okay, Okay? It doesn't have to be a wow action or something. Just share what you have done. Okay? So Google Assistant has many APIs, has many applications, and it can help you do a lot of things. So now it's open to you, the developers and programmers. It's open to you. You can add any extra interactions you believe it would be useful for the community. Okay? So for example, you want to create an application I was trying to make, maybe query some data from the weather, from Kuwait meteorology. We already have Kuwait meteorology having a lot of data, for example, the temperature, humidity, maybe warnings. Okay, it would be lovely that you see the warning, for example, when the weather becomes dusty or something, and you want to query that information from Google Assistant. So you can create your own action inside Google Assistant. The beauty of it is you don't have to install any extra application. It's not like the Google Play that you have to go and search for an application and once you create your action, it will be available to everyone by default. Okay? They just have to know the name of your action. Okay? So we will learn how to build actions for the Google Assistants, useful for your community, whether it's a professional network, interest group, or your hometown. Okay? For example, you can create an assistant for your own home. Okay? If you have a smart home, you want to, for example, turn off the lights or turn on the AC, you can access the Google SDK and link it with your smart home. Okay? So we will have a full day from now until 5 p.m. of interesting knowledge. Okay? We will talk first about Google Assistant, and then we will go to the code labs, which is the coding session. We will spend like an hour or an hour and a half making one simple application. If you're interested, we can go even to the next level. Okay? Then we will give you time to showcase your own actions if you created one. Even if it's not a full action, if it's not fully functional, you can still share it. Okay? You can give feedback for everyone. For example, you can talk about the challenges that you have faced while developing. I faced a challenge myself trying to connect with the database. It was a short time to prepare for the session, so I couldn't really connect to a database. By the way, it's still fresh environment, the Google Assistant. So whatever I'm going to say today, it might change after a month or two. It's still changing. Okay? They started this since 2016. Okay, so it's fresh. Okay. If you want, you can see a webinar about or presented by the assistant team themselves, the one that developed Google Assistant. You can see it on the YouTube. You can find the link again inside the video I provided here. Okay. Your action will be listed in the Google Assistant event series page. You can see that in that link. Okay. You can actually be part of the Google community if you are interested. As I told you, it's a fresh environment, and they are looking for developers. Looking for someone to give them feedback how to make this even better. They will give you a T-shirt. I don't know. Did they give you a T-shirt today? Okay, so if you register in this community, they will give you a T-shirt, which is interesting, and they will give you cloud credits for a year. Okay. So they are looking for developers in this. This is the agenda, okay, starting at 10 a.m. and then moving on. We will have a coffee break after an hour, okay, for like 20 minutes, and then after the coffee break, we will start the coding session in the code lab. Okay, if anyone is interested in the practical session of this, you can find the link of the code lab in number 20. Maybe some of you like to go like in the coffee break or anytime soon. This is like a text-based tutorial. It will guide you through how to make your own action step by step, even if you have never programmed before. Okay, it will go with you step by step. Okay, then we'll have a lunch at 1 p.m. for like 1 hour. After that, we will resume and give you time to create your own action. We will help you during that. You can stay home. We will work together like two or three participants. Okay. After you create your own one action, we will let you give us your feedback on the challenges you can face. We will have another coffee break or prayer break at 3:30. After that, you will demo your actions. Each group will come up for like 2 to 3 minutes. We'll talk. Maybe we will laugh together about each other. That's our topic. We're here to learn. Okay. And we will wrap up by 5 p.m. Okay. So let's get started and talk about building a conversational experience. Okay. We're not going to deal with the graphical user interface anymore. Okay. We're going to deal with what? With voice user interface. Okay, so you will experience something totally different than graphical user interface. If there is anyone here who is a graphic designer, you will not use your graphical skills today. Okay? Because there is no graphical user interface. It's all about the voice now. Okay? So this, for example, at the left, this is the user, and this is the Google Assistant, and this is your action. Okay, so the user gives some input or some command to the Google Assistant. Google Assistant try to converse with your action through API request, and the action will reply to Google Assistant, and Google Assistant will forward the response back to the user. Okay, so this is the general idea. Okay, so how this goes, or how to design this? As we said, your action will be available almost to anyone. Okay. Some cars already have Android-based, or you can download applications on the cars. It will be available on the browsers and the watch. For example, some headphones. The iPhone, as we said, it's available on App Store. Okay, so we're talking about over 500 million devices. Okay. It can be really helpful for a lot of people, especially people, for example, who are visually impaired. If you're interested in this category, you can already come up with something useful for them. Okay. So what is a Google Assistant? It's a conversation between you and Google. Help you get things done in your work. For example, you are in the middle of traffic and you would like early routes, or you want to know the traffic ahead. You can just say, okay, Google, and then ask them for directions or alternatives, and so on. Okay. Actions on Google is how developers can extend the assistant. Basically, an action is like an entry point to your application or to your interaction. Okay? What you're creating is interaction. Okay, as we said, most devices are already built in with Google Assistant. Okay, so it's a growing audience, which is interesting. These are the current covered languages. Okay. Do you see Arabic anywhere? It's not available. They are offering out an hour, how to say, a reward. Okay, for whoever creates an extra language, not only Arabic. If you are able to offer an extra language in Google Assistant, they will reward you. So, for example, you want to invoke Google Assistant, you can set up your own invocation phrases. For example, you can say, hey Google, talk to, and then you say the name of your action. Okay? Or hey Google, get, and then say the name of your action. Okay? Assuming Google Assistant is on. How do you make Google Assistant on? By saying, okay Google. Okay. Once it's started, you can say, well, connect me with, or talk to, or get, and then you say the name of your action. The name of your action should be clear, it should be distinct. Okay. Okay, there are many other or many available Google actions. For example, here they are talking about Google action called personal chef. You can actually communicate with an action called personal chef. It will give you like recipe in cooking, etc. So here is an example of how a conversation happens. Okay? For example, here is the user and here is the device he's talking with, whatever the device is, Google Home or Android device. And then here you have Google Assistant, okay, communicating with your action, and then your action connecting with the backend. Whatever your backend is, you can create your own server, you can use Firebase, etc. Okay? So at the beginning, you say, okay, Google, and then start your own action by saying, talk to, for example, personal chef. Here, the speech to text NLP, knowledge graph, and ranking user profile text to speech will translate whatever command is given to text and then invoke. Invoke is like launching or starting. Invoke your action, for example, personal chef action. The personal chef action will reply back to Google Assistant, and Google Assistant will say, sure, here's personal chef. So now it will open a conversational buffer between you and the personal chef action. Okay? Now the personal chef action will start his welcome message. For example, he will say, what are you in the mood for? You can define any welcome message you like. Okay? So now the talk is happening between who and who? Your action and yourself or the user. Okay? So for example, the user says whatever he's saying, well, it's kind of cold outside, so I would like to, for example, saying the story of his life. And then the speech to text will do his magic, and then your action will pass the query and generate response. So most of the magic will already be done by Google Assistant. How to understand the natural language, how to extract useful information from it, for example, the entities, the parameters. All of this will be done by Google Assistant, and you don't have to worry about this. Okay. For example, if you wanted to recognize the Arabic language, you have to look for an NLP for the Arabic language. I don't know how much there is in the market already, but you can work with that and add an extra language, and Google Assistant will be happy with that. Okay? So then it will give him a response. For example, it will reply, what protein would you like to use? Okay? Notice how our replies are always short. Okay? Why are we making our replies short here? Why don't I give him like a menu list? Like I tell him this command will do this, this command will do this command. Because in the VUI, the voice user interface, the user is captive in the interface itself. What do you mean by captive? He cannot listen to the next word unless the first word is finished. You have to wait for each word to end. So try not to make your replies or your responses very long. The user will get bored. Maybe will shut up his whole phone. Okay? So try to make it as short as possible. We will talk more about how to design your interface soon enough. But for example, this is one of the commands. Here he was saying it's kind of cold outside. So let's say this is one that will command. It's kind of cold outside, so I would like something to warm me up, like a hot soup, and I want it, etc. Okay, so you notice here it's saying different words about temperature, like cold, warm, hot. Okay, so how do you actually analyze this command? Do you have to write a parser for that? Or do you have to write a regular expression? Those of you who know about regular expression. You don't have to do any of that. Okay? Google will do it for you. It has its own machine learning libraries, okay? And it will analyze all of this response. It will extract the necessary entities, and it will know which action to go involve. Okay? So what is the magic in Google Assistant? The magic is in dialogue flow. Okay? Basically, it's an intent matching. Match and categorize user utterances to an intent. intent يعني مثلا النية أنا أسوي شيء أو ناوي إني أسوي شيء. فشلون البرنامج يميز النية هذه أو يعرف شنو أنا بسوي؟ من dialogue flow. راح يحلل راح يستخرج لي النية أو نية اليوزر. ماكو يوزر يدش ابلكيشن وهو ما عنده نيه انه يسوي شيء. اوكي. انتيتي اكستراكشن، مقصود بالانتيتي مثلا انك تاخذ بارامتر من الكوماند نفسه او من الجمله نفسها اللي قاعد يقولها اليوزر. اوكي، مثلا انت تاخذ كلمه كولد او warm او هذا منها تحلل وتعرف شنو ترد عليه او شنو تعطيه من ريسبي. اوكي. فايدنتيفاي keywords and phrases spoken by the user. Okay. And we'll talk about other problems. For example, your application or the input cannot be error prone. There has to be an error. Okay, at some point. For example, last night I was fighting with Google Assistant. I was saying something and it's passing it as something else. Maybe my accent is not clear, or maybe there was noise in the background. This could happen to any user. Okay, so already happened to me, a developer. What about the public user? Okay, so you have to accommodate for that. Okay, for example, ask the user again for the input and ask him in a polite way. Okay. So in the dialog flow, we will get to that in practical in the coding session. You will add user expression like this. What do you think the user would say? And it should invoke your action. So you will write them one by one. It doesn't have to be many, but you write what you think you will be receiving. Okay, in phrases like this. Okay, it could be anything other than this, but we try as much as possible to give it possible commands or possible phrases. And the dialog flow will use machine learning frameworks to analyze these and come up with similar phrases. Okay, that's how it works. Okay. This is, for example, here we're creating a recipe recommendation. Okay. For example, if you already, some of you maybe love cooking, and they have their own recipe book, right? At home. You open it and you see there's 1 cup of sugar, 1 cup of rice, etc. Why don't you make it an application or make it a Google action? Okay. So for example, here is a more detailed or more layered example showing you where dialog flow is presented. Okay. So this is again the same example as before. Okay, that shows you that it actually does not talk to your action directly. It talks to dialog flow. Dialog flow, for example, it triggers the welcome event and then it replies. And at some point, when the user tries to give a command phrase, it will eventually reach your action here. Okay, it will use the NLP for that language, for NLP for English or Spanish or whatever, and it will try to extract the intent and the entity, okay, or as we call them, parameters, and so on. Okay. This is a case scenario in which the user, for example, gives this command. Find me a recipe for a homemade cannoli. Okay, and then the Google Assistant try to analyze this using dialog flow. So it extracted the entities homemade and cannoli. Okay. But then it uses the webhook. We will teach you how to create a webhook using dialog flow. And it will reply, here is the best one I can find. For example, it will show up in a card or whatever. Okay, and it will deliver it as a response back to the user. Okay? So let's see the magic behind this. If you want more tips or more best practices about how to create actions or how to design actions, you can go to this link. Again, you can find it in the PDF I provided here. And for example, you can find a design checklist to check that you have covered all of these. This is when you want to go live or you want to go on production phase. And before you submit your action to Google and before they review it, you have to make sure that you at least went through this. Okay? You can see what kind of surface capabilities it supports. Okay, again from this links, if you want to see more. more information about that. Whether it will be an audio output, if someone's connecting, for example, headphone or using his phone, or it could be a screen output. Okay. You can use Google Assistant to, for example, control your own website. If you have a website and you want the user to navigate your website through Google Assistant, okay, so for whatever reason, you can use Google Assistant for that. It supports speech and display text. For example, you don't want to just display a normal text like this. You want something more fancy like this. Okay, you want for them to add an icon or whatever, or maybe you want to speech something other than what's written. Okay? So for example, here in the code, this is like a JavaScript. Okay, you can say the text to be shown is like this, but I want in the speech to give an example like number 42. You notice that here in the text there is no like 42. Okay? So you can specify one thing as a text and speech could be something else. But as a good practice, never put in the text something that is not in the speech. Okay? You can put something in the speech that is not available in the text, but not the other way around. That's one of the good practices. Okay? You can provide suggestions. Okay, and I really like this feature. For example, the user is like driving the car and he doesn't want to get distracted thinking about anything else. So he would like to see suggestions. Okay? So whenever you give him a response, you can also give him suggestions like 0, 42, 100, and they will appear like like buttons for the user. So you can click on the suggestions. Okay? If you don't want to provide suggestions, then it's up to you. But for me, as a user, I really like suggestions. Okay, you can create more complex response. For example, you can put a link to a website, or an image, or a button, etc., like this. Okay, all of that you can find there in the links provided. Okay, you can even create tables or create lists. Okay, for example, if you want to display like list of recipes, cooking recipes. Okay, I don't know why I keep going back and forth on the cooking. Maybe because I'm hungry. I don't know. So, for example, you have less than 10 items or less than 50 items. You can provide them in a list like this. You can ask for personal information, like user location. For example, you want to provide suggestions based on location. You want to provide Kuwaiti recipes for Kuwaiti user, or maybe a nearby restaurant for someone who's driving a car. So all of that you can define. So you can define using permission, for example, device, course, location. And Google Assistant will say, okay, I will just need to get your zip code from Google. Is that okay? And the user has to accept. It will not get his permission without consent. Okay. For example, here the user is saying, recommend me a local bookstore. He's looking for something nearby. I can't realize that without his location point. That's why I ask for if he denies to give a permission, then I will not give him a response. Okay. For example, if you need the user account to log in or something, again, you can ask for his identity. And in Google Assistant, it will pop up like this, pop-up window, or they call it a pop-up card, and it will ask for his account. Okay. You can make transactions using Google Assistant. For example, you have a local store or an online store, and you want users to buy your items. So you can create or transact with the user. Okay, for example, build out orders, use Google provide payment instrument. There are a lot of payments methods. For example, maybe you never heard about or this Stripe, Braintree, Vantage. They will add more in the future. They don't have to provide their card information. Google will not ask the user and say, please say your 16-digit card, bank card. No, this is not going to happen. Okay? So you will have to like create an account on one of these, and the user can pay for these middlewares. Okay. So for example, this is one of the examples of the transaction can show up like this. Okay. Or if you have a smart home, I know one of my friends have a smart home. It's like clappings to turn things off, clapping again to turn things on and again. Okay, you can actually integrate it with your Google Assistant. Okay, for example, before you reach home, you say, "Okay, Google, turn on the AC." So when you actually arrive back at home, you just change it and sleep. Okay, you don't have to wait for the room to get warm or to get cold. Okay. So these are one of the commands you can say when you turn off all the lights. What is the temperature inside? How many lights are on? You can ask such question. Dim the lights in the living room a little bit. What lights are on the living room? Make it warmer, and so on. Again, if you have any hardware that you created by yourself and you want to integrate Google Assistant with it, you can download the Google Assistant SDK. It will show you step by step how to connect it with your own hardware. For example, you come up with a new hardware that you never did there before, and you want to make a Google Assistant or Google Assistant action. Okay. There are a lot of templates. Okay. Maybe you can create your own and provide it as well. You can start using one of these templates, learn from them. For me as a developer, I prefer learning from existing templates or existing codes. Okay. So for example, you can see how you can create a personality quiz. Even if you never programmed before, you can actually list all the questions of the quiz with their answers in like an Excel spreadsheet, and then just upload it to Dialogflow or to Google Assistant, and it will generate the whole action for you. Okay? As simple as that. Okay? You can create flashcards. For example, you're working in a nursery or Havana, okay? And you want the kids register there to use flashcards. For example, what is this animal? And they say the name of the animal, etc. Okay? And there are a lot of other triggers you can learn from. Again, you will see that in the coding session. Okay? So there are a lot of features you can extract from these templates. As I said, you can create your own Excel. Okay? For example, specify what is the question, what's the correct answer, what are other possible incorrect answers, and then just upload this and it will create the whole action for you. Okay? So you can create an action within minutes. Okay? You can choose a predefined personality. When you create an action, you try to create a persona. Okay, you know what a persona is? شخصية. حاول تسوي لك شخصية. ممكن تكون شخصيتك انت اذا ما تقدر تتخيل شخصيه شخص اخر، او ممكن تستنبطها من الفيلم انت شايفه، تحاول تسوي شخصيه، ويفضل انها تكون شخصيه لوكال عشان تاخذ وتعطي مع شنو؟ مع اللوكال يوزر، الا اذا انت ناوي تغطي شريحه عالميه. Okay? You try to create your own persona. Okay? Don't make it rigid, like the user is talking with a robot. Users don't like this. Have you seen the latest I/O event? Have you seen they use an AI to reserve an appointment?
Yes.
Those who have seen it, have you noticed that they are talking with a human or with an AI? There was no difference. And that was the beauty of it. They created a persona back there. Okay. As we said, you can build without code using, for example, Google Sheets. It's similar to Excel. You can expand to different language. If you want, you can provide a list of other languages. You can add extra language, as we said, you can work on the NLP of Arabic language, if you're interested. So how do we reach users? Okay. As we said, there is triggering phrases or invocation phrases. For example, you say, okay, Google, let's talk, and then you put the name of your action. Okay, you can define any name for your action. Even if you put one name for your action, but you want other alternatives or synonyms for your action, you can also specify that. We will teach you in the coding session how to do it. Okay. Or you can provide deep links and say, okay, Google, this will launch Google Assistant, and then ask Persona Chief for a hot super recipe. So it will start Google Assistant, it will start your action, and it will wait for a response from the action based on your command. Okay? This is called, every time I say, okay, Google, this thing is turned on. For example, you can say, let's speak to Domino's. If Domino's have provided a Google action, you can go actually to any company and you can provide your service for them. Tell them, I can create a Google Assistant for you. And they will be, wow. In his repository, and it will see, oh, this developer's action is very suitable for working out. For example, it shows up the local gyms, etc. For example, someone says, hey Google, what's the self report? For example, your action already covers that. So it will trigger it implicitly. Okay. So here, as you can see in the repository on the discovery of the Google Assistant directory, there are a lot of actions. The users do not have to download these actions as the Google Play. Google Play, they have to go to the specified application and then click install. In the Google Assistant, once your action is published, they don't have to download it. Okay, it's already available there to everyone. Okay. If you want to share it, for example, with your friends using social media or something, you can create a link for it, a share link. You can, they can actually. So, as I said, you can link to your action from anywhere. For example, get a direct link to your assistant. You want, for example, to show off to your family. Tell them, well, I've created a new Google action. You will say, okay, where's the link to that? And then you provide them with this link. Okay. Any questions so far? All questions? You can stop me at any time. I'm not going to provide a time for questions. You can stop me at any time. Maybe your question will be beneficial for the others. Okay, so don't be shy. So let's talk about now the conversational design intro. Okay, how to actually design a voice user interface. Okay. You know, us humans, how do we learn how to communicate with each other? Okay. Back from childhood, we learn how to communicate regardless of the language. Okay? And we understand each other. Okay? Sometimes we say one word misspelling or something, or we don't say the phrase properly, but we still understand each other, right? Okay? So here in the voice user interface, you don't want the human to learn how to interact with the computer. It's the other way around. You want the computer to learn how to interact with the human. Okay, so don't try to change the user. Don't give him an instruction manual and tell him, this is how you communicate with human. No. The goal is to teach the computer how to communicate with the human. And you don't have to worry about that part. As we said, we have dialog flow with machine learning frameworks doing that for us. Okay. So what's the difference between a graphical user interface and a voice user interface? We have a top 3 design tips. Okay. First, as we said, we create a persona. Okay. Don't create a robot, try to create a human. Okay. ما هو البنو زينة الحياة. Try to create a child. Okay. A persona of a child. How can I say create a child? You're not a god. Okay. So a persona is compared to, for example, the tone. You can choose one of the 4 available tones. There's 2 tones for males and 2 tones for female. That's a voice. A tone is like how we actually speak, for example, in Arabic. I can't wait to hear Kuwaiti tone or Kuwaiti accent on Google Assistant. Okay, maybe someone, one of you can come up with this. Okay. Word and phrase choices. Okay, you can give them choices based on your background knowledge. What would functional design, style, technique, and the voice, etc. Okay, and it's all based on your user population. Okay, based on your local interactions, how you deal with your friends, based on their needs, their imagery and qualities associated with your brand, etc. Yeah, for example, if you're making it for a business of your own. Okay. So let's see the difference between a Pizza Hut or a pizza restaurant person and uh, a transportation company person. Okay. So, for example, the call center would say something like this: "Kawabanga do." Okay. What flavors do you create? Something like that. So, this is more like a persona of a pizza man, right? But in a teleportation company, like a bus company, it would be like this. The bus is approaching your stop now. Your trip will take 45 minutes, like this. Okay? This is an example of the features that you would provide. For example, someone would buy a pizza or pick it up from the restaurant or getting there soon, or would like to review their order. While in the bus company example, it will be purchasing a ticket, or it will be telling you if the bus is arriving soon or not. Okay, someone would like to review their schedules, etc. Okay, so you're basically making an API for your business or for your application. Try to think outside the box, literally. Okay? Most of you developers have worked with many graphical user interface. Now it's a new era, it's the voice user interface. Okay, so try to think out of the box. Some of you will want to make their conversation with maybe brainstorm like this. They would like create a flowchart and say the user will give me a comment and then I will see if it's a yes or no and then go deep here or there. And he will create like a switch or an if statement like this. This is normal. Okay, that's with the graphical user interface. Now with the voice user interface, you're trying to create a dialogue. Imagine that you're making a screenplay, مسرحية. تحاول تسوي مسرحية، وشو تسوي؟ تسوي سيناريو وحوار. منكم مثلا قارين عن الموضوع هذا، فعندك انت كانك قاعد تسوي سيناريو او قاعد تسوي حوار. تمام؟ فتry to think as high as possible. Don't worry about the words. Worry about what you're going to provide. Worry about the intents of themselves. Okay? Leave the wordings and the issue of the wordings to dialog flow. It will use the machine learning frameworks, etc., to extract the words and everything. Okay? In a conversation, there are no errors. Okay? So, for example, in real life, when you're like talking with someone or someone talking to you, you could get interrupted, or you could self-correct yourself and say the phrase more than once. Okay. There could be a noise around there, or there it could be too quiet. You can see here. For example, the user is waiting for a comment from the user, and the user says nothing, or maybe he's too far from the mic. Okay. So you have to take these into consideration. These are not errors. Okay. Your conversation has to keep flowing. Okay. It could be rejected if they test it in the review, the Google company, if they test it and they see that there is no lead to the conversation or it's not flowing, they could reject it and say it will confuse the user. Okay, so your conversation have to keep flowing. Okay. Don't say this phrase or don't use it as a response. I don't understand. This will like drive the user mad. Okay. So try to like rephrase the question. he didn't understand the question person or he didn't provide the expected parameters, try to rephrase the question. Okay? When a so-called error, most of you would call this an error, occurs in a conversation, it should be treated simply as a new term in the dialogue. Okay? Can you imagine it as you are taking another term, or maybe a third, fourth term, etc., only with different conditions. Okay? Users always have intent. Actually, you have to give them credit for being able to speak. You can say, hey, thank you for speaking up. Okay? So that's what we mean by giving them credit. They will always have an intent. They will never stop your action and just leave it there for fun. They always have an intent. Okay, so this is a case scenario, for example, for timeouts. This is one of the templates you can find available. It's called the number genie. It's basically like guessing a number. Okay, so for example, the action says, I'm thinking of a number from 0 to 100. What's your first guess? And the user says nothing. Then the number genie, after a timeout, will reply, I didn't hear a number. And the user may be muffling or staying silent. And the number genie will reply, if you're still there, what's your guess? Notice how I'm rephrasing the question. Okay? And I'm always using short questions or short prompts. Okay? That's the way it should be. And your action should be tolerant with this. Okay? It should not like shut down after a one time out or two time out and say, no, I didn't hear anything. Goodbye. Okay? So you should expect first time experience. Okay? At the same time, you should expect a return user, someone who have used your action before. Okay? Some users could quit your application or give up if you are creating a game. Okay? I would love to see a game today. If anyone can think of any game and create it as an action, that would be really fun. I'm really interested in games. So, for example, here he's trying to guess the number. The number genie, for example, it says it's higher than 21. What's your next guess? And the user says, I give up. And then I give him a proper response or a positive response and say, sure, I will tell you the number anyway, it was 19. Okay, something like that. So as we said, we should give users what? Credit. Credit for what? For being able to speak. Okay? Not everyone can speak. So they know how to talk. Avoid force-feeding commands, such as to reply to a message, say a reply. So say a reply, or to hear that again, say repeat. No, you're not dealing with an IVR. You know what an IVR? Interactive voice. The one you hear on the phone. For example, on the phone, they say press number 1 to do this, press number 2 to do that. Or some of them are voice activated. I've seen this in foreign countries. You don't have to press a number, you can say a word. No, this is not the case here. You have to create a conversation. Okay? People hardly ever say nonsense. They just weren't pairs correctly. There was a misalignment in meaning. Okay? So if you couldn't extract any entity or any intent out of the phrase, you should ask the user or rephrase the prompt again and again until they give up. Okay? So usually they know what they want. There's no such thing as a query with no intent. Okay? The user wanted to do something even if they didn't say so. Okay? So they always have to, or they always have an intent. You just have to do your best to get that intent correctly. Okay? They want to help. Don't create dead ends. When something doesn't work, if you ask for them to say something again, they will, but rarely exactly the same way. Okay? If you ask them again, probably they will say it in a different way. In a hope. They get their things. For example, yesterday I was trying to launch this personal chef. How do you say the word chef? Yeah, I said it many times. It launched maybe half of the actions available in Google, but not personal chef itself. Okay. So this could have maybe they deleted personal chef. I don't know. I almost gave up and I wanted to like type the name. You can type the commands name. It does not recognize the voice correctly. And it was hilarious. I was laughing so much. Honor that they are invested in the outcome of a repair attempt. Okay, if they really try again, that's an honor for you. They didn't give up on it. So you really have to put some effort on the retrial. Okay. Use the contest. Okay. For example, you can make use of the location of the user to guess what he's trying to do or what his intent. Or a situational. What is their intent or what is the user frame of mind? Temporal. What happened right before, for example, what was the previous command? Or what will be the next command, for example? Behavior. What do users know going on? What data can you use to enrich the experience predictably or to cut out unnecessary steps? All of that can help you give a better experience for the user and your action. Okay. So, for example, you can re-prompt rapidly. Okay, you can say, what was that? Okay, you can say that again, please. Okay. You can reframe the question. For example, if you're asking about a time, you can say, what time is this for? Or sorry, what time? For when? What time would you like to book this for? Okay. You can again ask another way. If it helps, we can do this one piece at a time. For example, be ready for questions about the questions. Okay. So for example, you can say, I have your name and email from your account. So now all I need is your phone number. You can give me the day, the time, or both. For example, you can provide these prompts. You can be also proactive. Okay. And say, for example, I could put you down for 6 for now. Does that work? For example, trying to book an appointment, and you already have access to the database of schedules, and you know that 6 is available. So you can tell them, how about 6 p.m. or 6 a.m. Okay. Can say like, do you want to finish this later if you notice that the user is busy or something, and so on. Okay. A VUI is inextricably linked with time. Okay, as we said, the user will be captive in time. And what do we mean by captive in time? Exactly. He has to wait for the current work to finish in order to listen to the next work. Okay, so with the VUI, the user can feel like a prisoner of the VUI design. They must listen with or without patience to each word before they can hear the one that follows. Okay. And by the way, they can reply or enter their command as soon as a prompt comes out. He doesn't have to wait for the prompt to complete. For example, I know what prompt he is expecting, so I can say it immediately without his finishing. But if I'm a first-time user, I have to listen to the whole prompt, okay, in order to know what he is expecting from me. Okay. So what other VUI best practices does Google Assistant recommend? Okay. Avoid written language. Okay. And use spoken. Okay. Imagine you're creating, as I said, you're creating a person or you're creating a persona. You're not creating a robot here. Okay. Kick off that conversation. Introduce your own brand. Provide a list of high-level action available by our action. Okay. If you want, you can put all of this in the welcome message. You can say, this is my brand, and I can do this and this. But not list of commands. If you say this, I will give you this. If you say this, no, this is not an IDR. Okay. Okay, so for example, you can create a context like this. Talk to, for example, agent name. They used to call it agent. This is an old terminology. Now it's called action. Okay, maybe when you're searching Google, you find some tutorials they're talking about agents. That's the old terminology. Even though it's still a new area, started in 2016, but they use it to use. They used to use different terminologies back then. Okay. So talk to agent name about subject one to avoid menu listening. Okay. Always guide the user through the conversation. Okay. As I said, he doesn't have a GUI, so you have to keep up with the user or keep him inside the picture. If you expect user to ask, make sure to ask a clear question. Don't leave mic open without a prompt. Okay? You can use text to speech, okay? And you better use it short and clear. Okay? There is a link that has a good tutorial about text to speech. I provided already. This is a hyperlink. You can see here, yeah, create a TTS. Okay, so this website, Green Hydro, really have a great hack for how to create text to speech. Okay, you can use it. This is link number 17. Analyze if your TTS can be split up in a logical way. Ask first before giving long TTS description. Okay? Avoid data points unrelated to user query. Don't use like long phrases or don't ask for too many for unrelated information. Okay? Follow a natural turn taking in the conversation. Okay? Try to make your conversation flowing, as you said. There are any errors, don't just shut down the action or don't disappoint the user. Try to keep it flowing. Rephrase the question, as you said. Use conversational makers. Adding the group to conversation and making it more engaging. For example, in timelines, uh, this is like writing an essay in English. You use like first or halfway there or finally, just to keep the user in the picture. Okay? So if there are a lot of questions or a lot of information you're asking the user for example, there's this one company that wanted to make artificial intelligence HR interviews. For example, instead of a human and making an interview with you, they would like to make an AI that make an interview with you. So we expect in this interview there are a lot of questions. You want, for example, to know about his age, about his interests, about his hobbies. So you can use these time-bound phrases. You can say it in the beginning first, and if you reach halfway, you can say halfway there. Acknowledgement. You use acknowledging phrases like thanks or got it, bye, sorry about that, etc. Of course, and obviously always use positive feedback, like good job or nice to hear, etc. Okay. Always keep your dialogue simple, but not simpler. Okay. Don't make it too simple. Okay. This is one of the bad examples. Why? Because it's using longer prompts. Okay. So it's saying, welcome to sense of relaxation. Are you trying to sleep, meditate, cool down, think, or reflect? No, that's too much. Okay. You can ask him like what you're trying to do and then give him buttons or suggestions. But don't make it long prompt because it's a prisoner of time here. He has to wait for the whole prompt to finish. Don't always depend on his looking at the screen. Maybe he's driving or maybe he's doesn't have a screen. Maybe he's using Google Home. Okay. And the user is patient here with us and he said, okay, reflect. The action says, great, we have something for that. Would you like to also include ocean waves, cracking fire, wind blowing, or bird chirping with that? I know your action can provide all of these, but don't make the prompt very long like this. Okay, we can, as you said, provide suggestions. Do you want this for 5 minutes, 30 minutes, or 1 hour? No, that's way too much. Okay? All right, so try to be in the headspace of the user. Try to be the user, not only the developer. Okay, so in summary, the VUI best practices. This is a fact of life. Error cannot be eliminated. Okay. Use border explanation when really prompting. Okay, so for example, if the user didn't get it from the first time, it's okay to make it a little bit longer or phrase it in a longer question. Okay? Don't blame the user. Okay? Don't say like, I don't understand you. Don't make him like look like a, sorry for the word, look like a fool. No. Try to give him a credit. Okay? Don't repeat prompts in error cases. Okay? If he didn't get it from the first time, don't use the same prompt again and expect he gets it right second time. Try to rephrase. Okay? How can you enhance your action? Okay? We're almost there to the coffee break. You can enhance your action by using speech synthesis markup language or double SML. Okay, for example, you can use something like this. This looks like an HTML, for those who know HTML. For example, you want to play some sound from an audio file, or you want to say the number as, for example, as a cardinal or as an ordinal. You can, for example, say tenth or the number 10 as it is. Okay. You can, for example, if you have an alias W3C, it's written as W3C for the user, but you want it to say the full word. So you can specify it here, word, processor. Okay, and so on. That is if you want to enhance. And if you actually go to this link, you can use an interactive interface, put whatever sentence you want, and then play it immediately. You can hear it. You don't have to deploy the whole action just to wait for this sentence to come up. You can play it immediately and test it. If you want to download it as well. So that's a really nice interface. You can find this link in the video file provided. Okay. There's also a sound library if you want a loud clock or a deep short or a bundle tone, etc. Okay. By the way, maybe some of you have already heard about Google Actions. Can you make notifications Google Actions? People really like notifications, right? I mean, you don't want to like check the WhatsApp every 5 seconds. You wait for a notification. So can you create a notification using Google Actions? Yes, you can. Okay. For those interested in creating notifications, yes, you can. Okay. So during the coffee break, maybe, or maybe during the lecture, you already came up with some ideas. Okay. So we encourage you to be creative. Okay. It can span from a personal interest, something for your own or for your home, or for your own business, to a local or regional community, even a business loan. If you already have ideas, you can write them down, for example, in a sticky note or something, open a word page and write your ideas before they evaporate. Okay. If you don't have any ideas, you can get inspired or think of joining one of the proposed ideas. I will show you a lot of templates, and once you go through them like really quickly, maybe you will get inspired. Okay. So now we will have a coffee break for like 20 minutes. Okay, so we'll be back by 11:25. All right. After that, we will start the coding session with the code lab. So if anyone is interested or already have the breakfast, you can go to the link number 20, okay, and start with the code labs. Go for level 1. This is the code labs. Search for level 1. This is build actions for the Google Assistant level 1. Okay. It will guide you through step by step if you have never programmed before. Okay. This is the link. You can link http://tiny.cc/gdg. Okay. If you have any question, I'm available here until the coffee break ends. We will have lunch by 1. By 1 p.m. We will have lunch for 1 after the code lab session. The coffee table is already here in the corner, free of charge. Don't worry. Is guess not really. I just thought in English that's just pretty clear, but it's not cases. The D is my handwriting is not clear. Sometimes I write it as an old, that's why I cannot put that in this one. But it's not. So what's there tomorrow? So it's like a full day of coding or something. Wow. How much does it cost? I don't know, like 1,000. Really? What's the amount? Just come with a great idea, application, just a good application and stuff. Maybe show that as the code with code.